President Trump heading to Camp David as the GOP announces it has the votes to pass tax reform.
We have a tremendous spirit for the tax reform. This is going to be one of the great gifts to the middle-income people of this country that they've ever gotten for Christmas.
He said tax reform will allow the U.S. to take its economy to a whole other level.
We are back. We're really going to start to rock.
A massive wildfire is getting bigger. It is now the third largest wildfire on record in California.
U.S. immigration rules have been based on an outdated system known as chain migration. The current system is totally incompatible with national security.
The lawyer for the Trump presidential transition team is accusing Robert Mueller and his team of inappropriately obtaining private documents as part of its Russia probe.
The fix was in against Donald Trump from the beginning, and they were pro-Hillary.
President Trump won in spite of the Republican establishment being against him, the Democrats being against him. Still, he prevailed. To me, that's the real story here.
Not a small town, but it is a throwdown.
Ed wants his.
Yesterday we were
wants
with
his
Katy
chick pop
Perry.
back.
Yeah, what's the deal?
You know, we put in orders before the show starts, and Ed was like,
for coffee.
I want oatmeal. And I said, is my grandpa here?
Oh, he just. You just threw down,
I
and
did.
you're going to pay for that
I'm
later in the
probably
show.
gonna
I'm
pay
not
for that.
telling you when.
It's because you guys had the biscuits and
But
chicken
you're telling the truth.
from Chick-fil-A yesterday.
Yeah, you got to balance it out with oatmeal.
You put a little brown
Thanks,
sugar
Rachel.
in your oatmeal, and it's good.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the last person that ordered oatmeal.
Other than your grandpa?
I make oatmeal all the time.
Really?
See, Rachel's got my back. This is going to be a great show.
It's going to be a great show.
put
Rachel
down the
Campbell stuffing with us. I wish we had more Chick-fil-A today. And Ed Henry, always.
Good to see you.
Fantastic. The best journalist in the business,
Yeah, right.
of course. But we've got a lot of news this morning. Right to a Fox News exclusive this morning. A potential bombshell over the special counsel's Russia probe.
A lawyer for the president's transition team now accusing Robert Mueller's team of improperly obtaining documents.
Peter Ducey is live from Washington with the details. Peter?
Good morning. So for the last few months, lawyers for the Trump transition team have been sifting through emails to and from 13 top transition officials, including Michael Flynn, separating the ones, keeping the ones that they think are privileged as they waited for the special counsel's office to call and ask for relevant messages to their probe. But as it turns out, Mueller got those messages himself on September 1st by going straight to the server at the General Services Administration, which Trump's team sees as a violation of their Fourth Amendment protections against unlawful search and seizure. Now, Trump transition lawyers are telling Fox this. In short, since the GSA improperly provided them to the special counsel's office, the PTT, Presidential Transition Team's privileged materials have not only been reviewed privately by the special counsel's office without notification to Trump for America, they have also been misused publicly. But the special counsel's office is defending the way they got these emails, telling BuzzFeed, quote, when we have obtained emails in the course of our ongoing criminal investigation, we have secured either the account owner's consent or appropriate criminal process. President Trump himself, not known to be an emailer, but his inner circle sent tens of thousands of messages between the election and the inauguration, and those are the ones the special counsel obtained without telling them. Back to you in New York.
Thanks, Peter.
Peter, thanks a lot. I mean, it's one of those instances where you know the Trump team feels like the process has been rigged against them.
Right.
And if you feel like these emails have been obtained not through the normal process, why were they obtained that way as opposed to the way they should be?
I think we should back up just a little bit and let people understand what the GSA is. I mean, the General Services Administration is what the government uses to help you transition, because you only have like 2 months, is it less than 2 months?
How you get office space and phones.
Right, and so they have access to all your information. And if you want to get that information, you have to go through the proper procedures, which Mueller decided not to do. And it's not the GSA's information to give without having gone through that
But
proper
I think Mueller's
procedure.
team might say, and we're going to hear a lot more in the days ahead, that they did go through the right channels. They called the GSA and said, can we get these documents? And they turned them over. That may have been proper. The Trump team may not like it, and it may have been sort of a little bit underhanded in the sense of why not tell the Trump team, hey, I'm going to go get these emails.
Sure.
It does seem because in talking to the Trump legal team in recent days, they have felt, at least before this,
right,
that the Mueller team was keeping them in the loop, letting them know who's being subpoenaed, who's being talked to, who are the witnesses in this case, so that everybody has a fair shake. If all of a sudden the Mueller team said, we're telling you about this, but not about these other emails, they may have obtained them properly.
Sure.
But they may
it
not
feels
have.
A little bit underhanded, maybe.
Right. But you're a big privacy guy, right?
All the time.
Right. So you don't think these emails should be out there, right?
Well, I wouldn't. No, of course, if you have a special counsel and you're looking into something, you have the right to look at a lot of things, investigate,
like
no doubt.
Peter Strzok's texts,
Like
right?
Peter
You want
Strzok's
those
text.
out there, though, right?
I want anything that leads to the fact that this administration never colluded with Russia, of course,
Right.
which we
So
know.
you think, okay.
So, but what we're going to hear this week in testimony, in front of
Nice transition.
Unfortunately, behind closed doors.
When he's behind, he moves on.
That's right. Certainly, members of the special counsel or the former DOJ or FBI officials under the Obama administration will be testifying this week on Capitol Hill about what they knew and when they knew it, and how they've used it. So Bruce Orr, who we talked about yesterday extensively, will be talking to the Senate Intel Committee.
Top Justice Department official who, remember, got demoted about a week ago because he didn't fully disclose the fact that he had these contacts, not just with Fusion GPS and their co-founder, Glenn Simpson, involved in the dossier.
Before and after the election.
Correct. And also, Bruce Orr at the Justice Department met with Christopher Steele, the former British spy who put the dossier together. What was he up to, and why didn't he disclose that to justice?
And his wife, it turns out, worked for Fusion GPS. So there's a lot of conflict.
And she was the Russia expert for Fusion GPS. They only have 15 employees. I don't know. Was she doing it? Who knows? It all stinks to high heaven.
Now, Tuesday, Andrew McCabe, who's the deputy FBI director, will be going on the Hill in recent days and has had scheduling conflicts and all kinds of things to push that off. And some people think that's because he doesn't want to talk to Congress. Remember, McCabe, he's been in the middle of a lot of these stories.
Wait, you call him Andrew. But in text messages, he's known as Andy.
He's Andy.
Because as it was referred to in Peter Strzok with his girlfriend,
that there was insurance policy.
The insurance policy, should Trump win, what is our insurance policy to maybe muddy the waters, which a lot of people are calling into question?
Can we just look at what was said in the text messages? Do they have that? Can you guys put that up? Because I think it's really important. Andy's office, the conversation we had in Andy's office, I think, this plan could work, that basically Hillary gets elected. But if not, we have this insurance policy.
Yeah, no, I think
it sounds like a cabal there.
And
what are they cooking up?
And importantly, you mentioned Orr's wife getting paid by Fusion GPS. Remember, Andrew McCabe's wife was running for state senate in Virginia, got money from a PAC, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Terry McAuliffe, the current governor of Virginia, who's friends with Hillary Clinton, not just friends, key advisor to both Clintons. And that didn't have anything to do with any of this. It just suggests that people in the senior levels of the FBI and the Obama Justice Department had all kinds of ties that should be looked at.
If you're the president and you're seeing all these things connecting, all these Democrats, all these emails, all these potential plots that we need to get explained in some of these hearings this week, you got to feel like the system is rigged. You're absolutely
very much
right,
so.
Pete.
So, of course, Democrats, one Democrat specifically, Representative Jackie Speier, says, I don't know, plug in your phones, buy gold, because this weekend...
She says based on rumors.
Based on rumors, Trump's going to fire Bob Mueller, and we better be ready. Take a listen to this.
The rumor on the Hill when I left yesterday was that the president was going to make a significant speech at the end of next week, and on December 22nd, when we are out of D.C., he was going to fire Robert Mueller. I believe that the president wants all of this shut down. He wants to shut down these investigations, and he wants to fire Special Counsel Mueller.
So that's one representative. I talked about buying gold. The reason is because Walt Schaub, a former Obama ethics czar, tweeted this as well about this weekend. He said, this weekend, I'm stocking up on portable phone chargers, warm clothes, and gear needed for when we take the streets. I'm concerned the assault on the rule of law is coming over the holidays when we are distracted. It'll be a defining moment for the Republic.
Unbelievable, because Ty Cobb, a top lawyer at the White House, put out a statement, among other things, saying, quote, Mueller will not be fired. So here you have one of the president's attorneys, a very well-respected Washington attorney, known to both parties, saying this is not happening with Mueller. And you have a Democrat who said what at the beginning of that? She said, the rumor is. I mean,
so this looks like fake news. Ed, in Washington, where does this come from, the hysteria, the rumor mill? Because his lawyer's saying ain't going to happen, but Democrats are saying...
I think she's just making it up to distract. I mean, they've been saying, first of all, that that Trump was going to fire Bob Mueller since Bob Mueller became the special counsel, and it hasn't happened.
Well, and they're trying to set a narrative.
And frankly, if I was President Trump, I wouldn't fire him. Bob Mueller is discrediting himself. As more and more information comes out, I think the investigation is getting more and more discredited. Firing Bob Mueller right now, I don't think would be in the president's interest. It would simply look like he's stopping this investigation when, in fact, I think the investigation is going to shut itself down by its lack of credibility.
Ty Cobb and others in the president's legal team think that this investigation will be over in weeks. They could be wrong.
That's what the Dems are afraid of, by the way. They don't want it to end. They want this thing to continue so it can continue.
Go through the midterms.
Yes,
forever.
Exactly.
Christian Bale is out there, by the way. You
a celebrity.
Yeah.
More celebrities giving us our commentary about how we should feel about President Trump.
So they've been piling on from day one.
Christian Bale, I think he was Batman once, maybe never again. Here's his quote from Christian Bale on President Trump as we bring you pop culture. He said, the majority of America is shocked at what it has become, shocked to see the hatred and division that has occurred within America, that attitudes toward people of different opinions, attitudes toward refugees. It's a genuine tragedy. I adore this country. It's my adopted home. Hopefully we'll come through this for something far better. But we're going through real trial.
Yeah. He said, my adopted home. He's a British-born actor. We love the Brits, and we got this special relationship. We fought him, now we love him. We have this special relationship. Who cares what you think? He has a new movie out. He's trying to get publicity, and here, maybe we're giving him some publicity.
But when's the last time you saw Hollywood or the left show tolerance for the way red state America feels? If you looked at some of those Peter Strzok emails, one of them said, I can smell the Trump supporters in Walmart.
Right.
I mean, there's such a disdain for red state America, and it's not the first time we've seen that. Tolerance only goes one way from the left.
You're exactly right. Who does he speak for? Your neighbors in Wisconsin? No. Folks that I know in Minnesota?
No.
Even
people in the
maybe
diners
some
you
folks
visit?
in New York City. I don't know.
Even some journalists?
Why does he think his voice is amplified? It's a one view that is an anti-Trump view, and they have a platform to use it. But maybe people will decide maybe we don't want to go to...
By the way, what do you like for breakfast? Is oatmeal cool or not? Is it Grandpa? Friends at Fox
No,
News.
listen, oatmeal can be okay.
Right.
I just feel like when Ed was like, give me some oatmeal.
All right,
add cardamom to your oatmeal. That tastes really good.
It can. All right. We're moving on because we're told that we have to in our ears.
They don't like oatmeal.
They're like, Pete, shut up.
The oatmeal thing isn't good.
That's true. Democrats say it's wrong for President Trump to be worried about the Mueller probe. But shouldn't all Americans be concerned? We'll ask Hillary Clinton's former campaign strategist next.
Plus, the Pentagon secretly spending millions of your tax dollars to, get this, search for UFOs. And guess who is behind it all? This guy, Harry Reid. He's retired, but his legacy lives on.
The White House has now joined the call by House Republicans for a new special counsel to investigate the FBI. The president's call for an investigation of the investigation is at best wildly dangerous to our democratic institutions.
Some Democrats say the president's wrong for his concerns over the Mueller probe, but the president says it's time to move on.
So even though Democrats say there's nothing to worry about, given that what we have found out recently, shouldn't all Americans be concerned with this investigation? Here to discuss is Harris Poll chairman and Hillary Clinton's 2008 campaign strategist, Mark Penn.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
You were in the Clinton White House when you were dealing with the Ken Starr special or independent counsel probe, I guess, at that time. So you've been through these kinds of wars before. How do you apply that experience to what you found in the poll where, from what I understand, your group has found that a majority says that Bob Mueller does have a conflict of interest in this investigation?
Well, that's right, Ed. I spent an entire year, as did the Clinton White House, spent an entire year defending against Ken Starr. And the feeling then was that the special counsel had overreached by trying to turn what happened into an impeachment. I hope we don't go down that road again, but if the facts are there, the facts will be there. When we took a monthly poll, as we've done, what we found now is that because of his friendship with Comey, 54% of the American public believes that Mueller has a conflict of interest, and 63% think that the FBI is resisting giving Congress the information that it should be giving. These are pretty remarkable findings here, because the whole idea of this investigation was to give a greater sense of clarity and objectivity to what's going on, and that clearly is one thing that is not happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so interesting because when Mueller was first appointed as special counsel, I remember hearing everybody in Washington saying, this guy is above board, he's the best guy. And I always thought it was so strange, just being a regular person, that we would have someone in charge of an investigation whose best friends, or at least very closely worked with, somebody who's at the center of the investigation, Comey. I mean, your poll seems to reflect what any common sense person would think.
Well, I think that's right. I think that, number one, there are a lot of people concerned about Russia, a lot of people who think there might be some collusion, 35% who think there's evidence, 40% who would push for impeachment now. But the other side, which is an equally big number, also thinks this investigation is going in areas where it's not really being fully supported by what also could have happened here, the unmasking, what happened with the rogue agent who could have been operating on both sides, the statement that she was innocent or guilty that was issued before the investigation, that was worked on, before the investigation was complete. There's a real set of facts here about matters that I would have said a month or two ago were preposterous, that the American public is hearing, they are concerned about, they do think need to be investigated as well, and don't see this thing as something that should be one-sided.
Well, Mark Penn, you have the experience to bring this to us, and certainly it does seem like that narrative has changed, and you have the data to back it up. We appreciate you coming in this morning.
Thank you.
Republicans, meanwhile, on the verge of passing historic tax reform without any help from Democrats. Is that a bad gamble by the left? We debate it next.
Plus, all this BuzzFeed editor wants for Christmas is full-blown communism, but all she's getting is coal in her stocking.
And what a tweet.
Wow. Some quick headlines for you. More than 300 passengers catching a nasty stomach virus on a Royal Caribbean cruise. That's over 100 more people than previously reported. The cruise now back in Florida after a 5-night horror of a journey through the Caribbean. Royal Caribbean says crews are deep cleaning the ship before heading back out to sea later this week. Plus, Minnesota Senator Al Franken confirms he will leave the Senate in early January. The Democrats' resignation follows the growing sexual misconduct allegations against him. And another Democrat giving up his seat over sexual harassment claims. Nevada Congressman Ruben Kihuen says he won't seek re-election after 2 women came forward saying he made unwanted sexual advances towards them. Kihuen, of course, denies the claims and says he looks forward to clearing his name.
Thanks, Rachel. I'm not taking a cruise anytime soon. All right, the Christmas present the president promised, set for delivery as Republicans prepare to end the year united on tax reform without a single Democrat vote on board.
Tax reform bill is a disaster. It helps the wealthiest, most powerful corporations and individuals, and it hurts the middle class.
It's daylight robbery. And every iteration, the GOP tax scam becomes even more cowardly, outrageous, dishonest, brazen theft from middle-class families.
But is this a big miscalculation by the left? Here to debate, Fox News contributor and former Trump Hispanic Advisory Council member Steve Cortes, along with David Tafuri. He worked in the State Department under President Obama. Thank you both for being here. David, I will start with you. From the left's perspective, so if President Trump is going to give more money to working families and a big tax cut this Christmas, why would not a single Democrat believe that more people should keep more of their money?
Look, it's the holidays and everybody could use more money in their pocketbook. But Democrats believe this is a budget-busting giveaway. And that's what you heard the leaders of the Democrats in Congress, Schumer and Pelosi, just say. The reason is that this bill came out of conference. It's over 1,000 pages. Most conferees probably don't even know exactly what's in the bill. But most importantly, it has a big tax break for corporations. That's permanent. It has a smaller tax break for the taxpayer, and that is temporary. That's going to go away. So this is on the backs of the taxpayer, and it's going to increase the budget by at least $1.5 trillion. That's what the supporters of the bill say. So, it probably is going to increase the budget by much more than that.
So, Steve, suddenly Democrats are concerned about the deficit. This bill is 1,100 pages. Obamacare, I will remind our viewers, was 2,300, going on 20,000 pages. What do you say to that?
Yeah, Pete, no, I do find it interesting that suddenly Democrats have found religion when it comes to running up the debt, even though the Obama administration ran up more debt than all other U.S. presidents in history combined. We have $20 trillion in debt. The only way we get out of that, by the way, is through growth, because we are unwilling politically as a country to address entitlements. So the only way to fix our debt situation is faster growth. How do we get faster growth? We're already seeing it by reducing regulation. Now we need to finish the job with tax cuts. And you know, to your point about the Democrats, I really think that they have become the party of no. Dr. No might have been a very good Bond movie, but it's not a very good strategy for a political party. All they offer is no and obstruction, and they have been a party of no growth for the middle class, which is why it's been a party in electoral systemic decline. It's why they lost 1,000 state legislature seats under the tenure of President Obama. It's why they're going to lose disastrously in 2018. They're the party of no.
David, that's an important point. You talk about deficits, you talk about budget. Those are Washington speak, but to an average person, they want to know what affects my wallet. Do I have more in my bank account? And, you know, am I getting money back? So why are tax cuts a bad thing from the view of Democrats when, you know, ultimately the American people might say, hey, this is more back to me?
Well, I think the average American across America understands that if we increase our budget too much, if we increase our budget deficit, that's going to have an impact on the economy. It could put us back in a recession. Ultimately, you look at big deficits have caused recessions in the past, and all Americans need to be worried about it. Now, Steve has made some good points, and he highlights the reasons why tax cuts could also be helpful, but this bill isn't going to accomplish it. And most importantly, why are we giving more of the tax breaks to the corporations rather than to the taxpayer? As you mentioned, we ought to be focusing on the taxpayer. This bill does not do that.
Steve, I mean, but to that point, do not corporations hire people?
Right, of course. And, you know, by the way, I prefer to say business taxes, because when you say corporation, I think to most people, they immediately think of General Electric or Google or these giant companies. Those companies don't pay the corporate rate anyway because they're so good at legal tax avoidance. We're really talking about small and medium-sized businesses, the next Google, the next General Electric. That's who's crushed by high business taxes, which is the term I prefer to use. And you're exactly right. You can't be pro-employment and anti-employer. So small and medium businesses are generally the job-creating machines of our economy. They're the dynamism of the U.S. economy. They've been hampered by far too many regulations and by onerous taxation. President Trump's already taken care of that first issue. Now he's going to take care of the second. President Promise Keeper was sent to Washington to do what he told us he would do on the campaign trail, and taxes is perhaps the crowning achievement of 2017.
Steve and David, two smart dudes. This will ultimately be litigated at the ballot box in 2018 and 2020. We'll see who was right, who feels like their lives were influenced the best. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. New resistance against President Trump's plan to move America's Israeli embassy to Jerusalem. How the UN is ganging up on him. Big shocker there, of course. Plus, faith was a key part of Ronald Reagan's presidency. And now you can own a piece of history. A Bible signed by the 40th president.
Can we resolve to reach, learn, and try to heed the greatest message ever written, God's Word in the Holy Bible? Inside its pages lie all the answers to all the problems that man has ever known.
Well, Rachel says she misses him. I agree. We all know former President Ronald Reagan. He referenced faith and the Bible throughout his presidency, and now you have a chance to own a Bible signed by him.
The signed New King James Bible was gifted to an Air Force Brigadier General and is valued at $30,000. It's the only known Bible of his to reach the market.
Joining us now to discuss really what's a fascinating story is the president of the Robb Collection, Nate Robb. Personally, I'm fascinated by this, and Rachel and I were talking during the break that it seems undervalued. I mean, if this is a Bible that Ronald Reagan used, tell us the story. How did you get it, and how did the president use it?
It's a Bible that he gifted to a brigadier general. So this was something that the family cherished. We've never seen another Bible that Reagan signed. We may never see another Bible that Reagan signed.
Wow.
And it was a gift from the president to this military family.
And how did he pick that military family to gift it? What was the...
They were involved in Republican politics. He and his son both served for generations. And why that?
Signature in the front here. We have a camera
it's right
behind
here.
It. Oh,
Don't touch it, Ed.
Yeah, I didn't want to. Come on. That is really incredible.
No, and what's so heartwarming about this is that she cherished this. This was used by the wife, and she cherished of the Brigadier General, right?
And these are verses that she highlighted, I assume, on the left.
Yeah, and she used it. You know, if you look throughout, she's. You know, this wasn't just a presentation piece.
Right.
This was something that was a cherished family
It's a living Bible. You see,
right.
there are also notations
yeah.
throughout.
Nate, it also reflects, that the president gifted this, that this is the gift he chose. We know that President Reagan was somebody who really respected religious liberty. We also know that he's somebody who understood that faith and morality were prerequisites for a healthy democracy. What does it say about President Reagan that that's what he chose to give this family?
I think it is a powerful symbol of Reagan's connection with the conservative Christian movement in this country. And there's no more clear physical embodiment of that connection than this Bible, which was something that obviously meant something to him and meant something to the family he gave it to.
It meant so much to him that he declared in February of 1983 a year of the Bible. In this declaration, he said, of the many influences that have shaped the United States of America into a distinctive nation and people, none may be said to be more fundamental and enduring than the Bible. A pretty cool statement to hear from a president.
And this Bible was printed in the year of the Bible. That's why this Bible was printed, because of that proclamation.
And so how can our viewers, can they bid on this, or what move us forward on what we can do?
It's not a bidding process. It's a fixed price. It's $30,000, and they just go to our website, rabcollection.com,
all right,
to learn more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, Nate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Turning now to your headlines, thousands more told to get out as a massive wildfire in Southern California burns further out of control. The Thomas Fire bearing down on Santa Barbara County, fueled by strong winds. By the way, that's where the Reagan Center is in Santa Barbara. More than 267,000 acres. The fire so massive it can be seen from space. So far, it's responsible for the death of a firefighter and a woman trying to flee. The flames are currently 40% contained. Once winds let up, firefighters hope to turn the tables. The UN Security Council now considering a call to withdraw President Trump's acknowledgement of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. The Egyptian drafted proposal wants all nations to stop diplomatic missions in the Holy City. It has support among diplomats, but would likely be vetoed in Washington. President Trump's decision has sparked protests and violence along the West Bank. A BuzzFeed editor is now paying the price for her Christmas wish. Kelly Oakes from BuzzFeed UK Science tweeting this out. Quote, all I want for Christmas is full communism now. Wow, she could just take a trip to Cuba. The backlash so fierce, she had to lock her account. One user tweeting, quote, please, please live under a real communist regime before asking for something which you've only read about in books. Hashtag communism kills.
Yeah. Why would you even ask for it?
Crazy. The Pentagon has been secretly investigating UFOs with $22 million of your tax dollars. Wow. The New York Times reported that the initiative looks at video and audio recordings of strange encounters captured by service members. The Times says the money was hidden in the budget each year. Former Democrat Senator Harry Reid started the program and gave some of the cash to a billionaire friend who says he's convinced aliens have visited the U.S.
Listen,
and those are your headlines.
If Clayton Morris was here, God bless him. I hope he's sleeping in. He would be talking about UFOs all morning. This would be affirmation for him.
He was into that. But it's fascinating to me, too. But should $22 million of our tax dollars
should it be hidden in the budget?
It is.
What if it's real? What if it's real, Ed?
Really?
We got to be ready for the
out there?
space invasion.
What do you
never
think,
know.
Rick?
I mean, I think there's a good chance if they're spending $22 million. I mean, not that all the money is spent well, but I mean, maybe there's a reason for that. And it certainly, if there is life out there.
Well, let us know what you think, viewers out there.
It also can't be inexpensive.
And I'm going to be looking for a space forecast.
Yeah, by the way, Clayton was tweeting all about it yesterday.
Was he?
Yeah, of course. Absolute. Listen, I worked with Clayton for like 9 years, so I know a lot about that. His obsession there. Here you go. Temperatures across the U.S. warming up a little bit, and that's going to be the trend for a lot of this week at least. Next week, Christmas week, signs of a much colder air mass coming in, especially across the north. So we'll talk more about that as the week progresses. But right now, take a look at this. Big rain showers moved in yesterday throughout Texas, throughout Louisiana, and you get the idea here. There's a lot of rain here. The good news is it's moving pretty quickly, so it'll get out of here pretty fast. However, another little system develops, and this week we're going to see quite a bit of rain from around Texas throughout the deep south over towards around Georgia. So get ready for kind of a soggy gray week. Out across the west, we have all those fires in California, and you see this moisture here. That is going into Arizona. Some big showers moving in towards Phoenix area this morning. A little bit of snow across a higher elevation into the White Mountains. But California remaining dry, unfortunately, and today the winds will kick up again. So fire conditions are going to remain bad today. Take a look at this, though. Next few days, guys, going to get up towards 49 degrees in Chicago. So warm air coming back, at least temporarily.
Nope, that's snow. Love it.
Look
Thanks,
at that.
Ricky.
Rick bringing us good news today.
Tidings of good joy and great news. Thank you, Rick.
Remember when former President Obama said this about climate change?
Climate change constitutes a serious threat to global security, an immediate risk to our national security.
Now, President Trump may be poised to remove it from the list of threats during his big national security speech tomorrow. Our next guest says this was never a national security issue to begin with, just liberal politics masquerading as one. Is he right? We'll debate it.
He might be. We'll see. And this guy, learning the hard way, only Santa belongs in the chimney. This guy strikes me as an idiot. I'm just going to.
Is that his head or his belly or what?